Hi everyone, myself Rekha, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics. So my topic is about linear programming problem. So in the course Resource Management Technique. First of all, linear programming problem, we have to formulate what is linear programming problem. It is a representation of a problem situation in mathematical form, and also it involves a well-defined decision variable with an objective function and a set of constraints. So normally if you have an industrial oriented problem means first of all we have to convert it into a mathematical form and we have to identify the objective function. The properties of the linear programming problem is nothing but the relationship among the decision variable must be linear in nature, model must have an objective function, resource constraints are essential. A model must have a non-negative constraint. So what is mean by objective function? So objective function, first of all we have to construct the LPP, we have to choose a decision variable. The objective function is nothing but whether it should be a maximization or minimization. Maximization means resource or profit should be maximized, whereas the minimization means the cost or time must be minimized. For example, if you produce a manufactures a table at char means we have to maximize the profit. So X1 is nothing but an optimal production of table, and P1 is a profit. X2 is nothing but an optimal production of chair and profit from each chair sold. So we can write it as P1 into X1, P1 into X2. The objective function is nothing but maximize z equal to P1 X1 plus P2 X2. So the availability of the resource are in the surplus. There is no problem in making the decision variable. The previous problem of furniture management, when W be the amount of wood available to produce table and chair means the expression of the constraints is nothing but W1 X1 plus W2 X2. In addition of the raw materials such as labor, machinery and time are also considered as a constraint as non-negative restriction. Non-negative restriction of any physical quantity are impossible, and it is to include a non-negative as constraints as x1, x2 greater than or equal to 0. The general LPP form is nothing but maximize or minimize z equal to P1 x1, P2 x2, etc. Pn xn, subject to the constraint W1 x1, W2 x2, etc. W1 x1 equal to W1, and similarly Wm1 x1, Wm2 x2, etc. Wn. So these are the non-negative restrictions. Then application is nothing but based on the LPP we can convert, can identify whether it is a maximization profit or minimization cost, and we can find the constraints of that problem, and finally we will analyze whether you will have a profit or you have to minimize the cost based on the, if it is a maximization profit means it is applied in the industry based on raw material, factories, etc. But if you go with the minimization cost means food constituents and plants the bottle produced, like that if you go with the minimization cost. So like that LPP is very advanced technique. Using the LPP you can easily convert the physical situation as a mathematical model, but in future this can be applied to convert it as a graphical model. So this graphical model helps us to identify the solution easily, and you will get a solution for this x1 and x2 variable. So this helps us to identify easily. So LPP is a good method, and in future you can apply all the physical situation as a mathematical solution and easily identify the solution for that problem also using the graphical method, simplex method, bigger method and dual simplex method. So like that, this is the first part of the operation research. Next we will see in the next class graphical method. Thank you.